Okay, looks like we are live and we've got some people in the Zoom. So we're going to let our Zoom people in. What's going on? Alabama. What's up, Alabama? Haven't seen you for a while. Uh, Decided to do something different today and get some live interaction going via Zoom. So, for those who are watching on YouTube, if you're interested in joining, I got the link to the Zoom. You can join, and you can hop on live. What's going on Instagram? I'm just letting the Instagram people know we're live. Okay, so now Instagram knows. We got people joining. Beverly, Jen, Carlton, Shell, Gregory. For everybody joining via Zoom, you all are live. Everybody's live. So I've got a couple topics that we're going to get started with. I will probably be pulling questions from YouTube as well. And we're just going to have a little chat today. Do this a little bit different than normal. Gregory said, I wish I would have had gotten advance notice for this meeting. You did get advance notice. I sent this stuff out an hour ago. That is the advance notice. You know what? In my life, I am used to uh, I'm used to doing things like last minute, because what I found is people will make plans with you and then they will cancel on you last minute for whatever reason. Or people will have the intention of doing something and forget last minute. So I make announcements last minute because I get a better response. And I pulled that from my dating experience. What's up, Taryn? Is everything good? Is the audio good? The video good? Everything good? I used a lower latency so that there's not as much lag so we can interact. Oh, it was all in my design, Gregory. It's all by design. Beverly, good to hear from you. You all can come on and talk live if you want to. That's what the panel is for. So we had a question in the YouTube, the YouTube live question. Someone said, do you think it's sinful to eat? Do I think that it is sinful to eat? It's a very interesting question. I'm going to say that I don't believe that it's sinful to eat. Like the general act of eating, I don't think it's sinful to eat. However, I think that the way that we eat in modern society is sinful. I think that we are very gluttonous, and I believe that we eat to use it as a coping mechanism. So instead of dealing with our problems, we'll eat our problems away. I also believe that the manipulation of our food is very sinful in nature. Somebody posted a picture of some, like, I think it was like some vegan cheese or something like that. I don't remember. Maybe it was tofu, but somebody posted something on the AHA Facebook group, and they were like, "Is this okay to eat?" And it was like some type of, I think it was a soy-based product. And when you think about like what was done, the manipulation that was done to the soybean, I think that's sinful because you're taking a natural food product, and you're manipulating it. Now, originally, as history says it was manipulated in order to manufacture like they were going to replace plastic and different, manufacturing materials with soy. But what actually ended up happening, it seems like, is they put it into the grocery store and now we're eating it. And I think that's sinful, So I think there's elements of eating that are sinful. Now, if you want to go a little deeper with it, I believe that it's also, when we cook food, we are cooking the energy and the life out of it. And I think that it's important to understand that. I don't know if I'd go as far to say that it's sinful to cook food, but I certainly would say that it's detrimental. So I've been on a raw food diet for the past 2 weeks or so, and it's been wonderful. It's really good to challenge yourself and do something different. And I know there's a couple people that are doing raw, but if you've never tried it, I highly recommend it. It makes you feel wonderful. Does anybody on the in the panel want to talk about it? Gregory, you're pretty lively. You wanna come off audio, put your video on, talk about how you feel about the food being sinful? Hey, so if anybody is watching on YouTube and you want to join and talk, please come on, because the Zoom is for discussion. It's not just for viewership. If you guys just want to view, you could view via the YouTube. This is for discussion. So come off of audio, and you don't have to chat. You don't have to chat. You can come off audio and you could talk. I don't know if I have to unmute you all. Gregory, go ahead. Is it sinful to eat? Are you all able to talk? No, we can't hear you. Shell, you want to say something?
I was going to ask you to repeat the question.
The question is it sinful to eat? Is the act of eating sinful?
Um, I don't think it is. What does it mean to? Guess that's a pretty broad question.
It is.
Sin. What would make it sinful? What is sin
Well, I
and eating?
the first thing that I thought about was, you know, gluttonous. When you're gluttonous,
Mhm.
so the act of overeating, would you consider that sinful?
I would consider it a disservice to yourself. I don't know if I would use the word sinful. Related to the Bible, gluttony is a sin. So, but for me, overall, just the body or overeating and understanding the effects that it has on the body is just a disservice.
I guess it depends on the definition of sin, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to chime in? I think you all have the ability to unmute yourself. Gregory, you might need to check your audio settings. Beverly says too much noise in the background. I don't think it's sinful to eat. You can only survive so many days without food.
Yeah, that's another. It depends on who you talk to, I guess, as far as surviving without food. I'm gonna eat, but there are people that don't.
Rhonda, do you want to come on? Gregory, check your audio settings and see if you can make an adjustment, and maybe we'll be able to get you on in a minute. All right, y'all. So if you're in the Zoom, you're here. This is for a discussion. So if you're just looking to listen, please join the YouTube. If you want to discuss the topics that we're going to be talking about today, please come off audio. You can come off your video so that we can have a discussion. So this isn't for just chat. Jen, did you have something you want to say?
Hello?
Hello? I know y'all know how to use Zoom. And I know it's working because Shell is able to talk. I'm going to go back to the uh, YouTube chat.
All these quarantine conference calls.
Right. What's going on? UK's in the house. Maryland. Chicago. Um, why so many people fail on fasting? Is it a lack of water or food in their body? Well, the actual act of fasting is removing water and food from your consumption, but you still will get water and food uh, through. Well, you'll get water through the air. So a lot of people don't realize that you actually get water. Your body will absorb it through the skin and through your breath. Also, the body can manufacture water by breaking down fat. Um, there's many different ways the body can actually manufacture water. So you're not necessarily going without water. And as far as food goes, that's actually a whole different story, because you got to understand, like, what are you actually getting from food when you eat food? Like, what's the benefit of food? And when you think about the fruit of a tree, remember, through the process of photosynthesis, all your fruit and everything, that's just condensed sunlight. That's all it
Hello?
is.
Hello?
We can hear you. Hold on real quick. So if your fruit is just condensed sunlight, then the sun being your natural energy source, you can still get nourishment if you know how to, take in the energy from the sun. So it's not that you're not getting any energy, food or water. It's just really about the way that you're taking it in. Okay, who's that? Tony? Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey man, how's it going? I just want to let you know I just found your channel recently, and it's been helping me out.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're enjoying the content.
yeah. I just started doing it. 2 days at work. My last 2 days of work, I fast, and then I fasted my 2 days off, and I've been losing I lost about 10 pounds last weekend.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, and I also exercise.
You've been exercising too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How much exercise do you do?
I do about 2 hours of cardio, but I separate them, and then a half hour of lifting.
Wow.
That's a nice protocol. It seems like it's, really manageable for you. I know you said you're new to the channel. Why did you choose that particular method? Because there's so many different ways you can approach fasting.
Oh, it's just that I don't know. I just wanted a jump start to be honest. Just a little jump start. And I just wanted to get used to the feeling of feeling a little hungry after a while.
Okay.
Because honestly, it's not bothering me as much as I thought it would have.
Right. People tend to think that fasting is going to be, we have preconceived notions about what it's going to be like.
Yeah, I know. I was always given the wrong information.
Right. Yep, and that's actually the reason why we created this brand, is to really sift through all the BS and give you all good, clear, concise information that you can apply, and you're already seeing the benefits of it. The goal is staying consistent.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, listen, I would say that, in addition to tracking your weight loss, make sure you're taping yourself. If you don't already have a tape measure, check your neck, your chest, your arms, your thighs, different areas, and because what you're going to experience is a moments in time where you're not necessarily losing 10 pounds a week or whatever. You might only lose a pound or two, but that's because your body is actually going to start shrinking, right? So the loose skin is going to tighten up. All of the excess protein that you don't need is going to start being recycled by the body. And you're not going to necessarily lose weight, but you should see the difference in the way your clothes fit you.
Right. Actually, I'm going to get one today. I didn't think about tape measuring.
Yeah, it's tape. The tape measure, like the thing about it is the body doesn't actually, you can't get everything from just your weight, because you have to think about the body has the ability to manufacture fluids, and the fluids that the body manufacture, they have weight to them. So if you hydrate better, your cells and everything are going to be more saturated with water. Well, that's extra weight. And then when the body starts manufacturing digestive fluids, which is a good thing, that's extra weight. So your weight could go up, or it could even stay where it's at, but the body composition will change. So it's important not to focus purely on the weight, because it doesn't tell the whole story.
Correct. I'm going to keep that in mind.
Cool. Now, we had a question from YouTube. Somebody was asking, do you think that eating food is sinful?
Too much of it.
So more or less the act of committing gluttony.
Yes. There we go. I was actually trying to look for the word. Thank you for that.
Gotcha. All right, excellent. Well, Tony, stick with us. We're going to have a couple more questions. I want this to be a live interaction. You're new to the channel, so you probably don't know this, but this is the first time that we've done this type of interaction. And I appreciate you, coming on, putting your video on, and, interacting, because that's what we want.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you real well, because honestly, when I watched one of your earlier videos, I forget which one it was, but you said, oh, you just need to keep moving. Just moving. If you want to lose weight, you got to keep moving. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for a few-hour walk on one of my days off. So that's what I did.
Yeah, it helps to keep the lymphatic system moving. The lymphatic system gets stagnant. You get all that toxicity built up in your system, and it makes you feel bad. You know, um,
I don't know what the lymphatic system is.
it's kind of like it's kind of you could think of it like the body's sewage system almost, and it doesn't move like the blood does. You have to actually move your body to get the lymph system moving. So, it removes a lot of waste and toxicity from the body. And if it gets stagnated, then that toxicity is just sitting instead of moving out. And so because of the fact that we sit a lot or at our jobs, we're not active, we're not out in nature, we're not doing what we really are designed to do. We start to build up excess toxicity in our system, which is why exercise is good, but it really should just be built into our lifestyles to move. And I mean, that's what we should be doing. But it's a pretty large system that's throughout your entire body. So, one of the things that I learned from stagnant lymph fluid is down in the growing area or just the pelvis region, like around my thighs, like my inner thigh, I would get these lumps. And I had no clue what they were. They didn't bother me. They didn't hurt. They were just like these lumps. And something intuitively told me that it wasn't like cancer or anything like that. But I also was like, something's not right. And it wasn't until I actually started down my health journey, I started fasting, I changed my diet, I noticed that the lumps would go away when I was like fasting and eating well. And then after some years, the lumps never came back. And then I was listening to someone talk about the lymphatic system and how you have these nodes down in the growing area, and when those get swollen, that's what you're feeling. The nodes are swollen, and it's very common. And I've heard women tell me that their gynecologists or something will tell them, "Oh, it's fine, it's no big deal. It happens from time to time." But the reality is, it's letting you know that your lymph system is not it's not moving properly. So it is a problem because the stagnant lymph fluid is going to cause other issues. You see what I'm saying? So it's just an indicator. So if you have lumps along your lymph system, that lets you know that you need to work on that. And one of the best ways that you can improve the lymph system is eating fruit. Eating fruit and drinking fruit juice. So
yeah, I can piggyback on that too.
What's up, Shell? What did you want to add?
I'm one of those people. Well, my doctor told me I used to have the swollen lymph nodes around my growing area too. Nothing super crazy, but noticeable. And then I did my research and I learned that certain areas where those lymph nodes or the glands are more prominent, and it's in the growing area, under the arms, and behind the knees. So, when I did my fast, and it was rough, those are the areas where I was detoxing the most. So there's just something else to look out for. Like if you find yourself having like those rashes or seems like bumps or anything around in those areas, it's the lymph system pushing out those toxins. So you want to keep moving.
That's some good insight.
And that's interesting. Hey, Chris. Hey,
Hi.
Shell.
Hey.
I'm Michelle Taylor, actually, on your group. And I recently did a 21-day fast. And I have swollen lymph nodes on my face, like behind my ears. And in my chest area, when I did my fast, like my chest area, I had like a huge rash that came about that even after my fast, eating like raw veganism and everything, it still is going on. Like it's just now clearing up. So yeah, I can understand like with the swollen lymph nodes, but mines are more so, they're always like in my face area. Like that's always an issue for me. And I may have to mute after a while because I wasn't prepared to be on the Zoom, but yeah, definitely.
Okay. No, well, thank you. Thank you for your input. And yeah, we understand, if you guys go in and out, that's cool. I just wanted to let everybody know that the panel is designed to have an open discussion. So please feel free if you all want to chime in. Yeah, if you're dealing with swollen lymph nodes anywhere in the body, it's just an indicator to let you know that there's something to be dealt with, something you want to clean up. Gregory was asking, are the tonsils part of the lymph system? No, I don't believe so. I'm not an expert on the lymph system, so don't quote me, but I don't believe they are part of the lymph system. I could be wrong, but the swollen tonsils are also an indicator of poor dietary habits. I know a lot of people get their tonsils taken out when they're children, and it's just a common thing to do. But now we have to consider if we are taking out an organ or a gland or something that is designed to filter out toxicity in the body. If we take that out because it's being overworked, what do you think is going to happen? Like all of the toxicity and all of the contamination that's designed to protect you from is now going to be allowed to just enter your system. So you might develop allergies, you might develop chronic diseases, or just you may not be well equipped to deal with different environments because you've removed a portion of your immune system, if you want to call it that. So
because I'm getting an echo from you. Like I can hear everything you're saying in another.
Who you talking about from me?
Yeah, it's not like an echo in Zoom. It's almost like maybe I'm hearing from
YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you have your YouTube turned on?
It's a delay.
Hey Chris, can you hear me?
Yes. What's up, Ashish?
So this is so good. Looks like I incidentally got into this conversation. Looks like everything is going very timely basis. I looked at my mail and something showed up and jumped into it. I looked at YouTube. I looked into the Zoom. So without knowing too much of details, but then I have been in and out of the water fasting. If you could provide at a super high level, what does it take? How someone who has not been exposed to the water fasting or the kind of challenges had in the past for doing the long duration of the water fasting, anything beyond 2 to 3 days, how would you like to recommend someone to continue going through on that path?
Well, with fasting, the first step is always going to be preparation. So how do you prepare for your fast?
So first thing is about the mindfulness. So I write it down into the piece of paper. Why do I want to do that? And then I look at my schedule for those days when I'm planning to do the water fasting. And then I directly jumped into it. Now, the challenge which I actually face at times, when I'm in a very intense work schedule, I started getting stressed out and I start feeling, since I'm not eating anything, the lack of the carbohydrates or any of the food is start bringing my energy down and I'm not able to focus. And since I'm in an intense work pressure, I feel like maybe I can go back on the water fast tomorrow. Today, let me go and grab something and then I can go back on tomorrow. And then I keep doing this on and off, and it gives me the results. It does give me the result, but it's not in a very consistent manner.
Gotcha. Well, first of all, that's good. Starting your fast with mindfulness is very important, and writing your reason why, very, very important. It's actually something that we talk about in our 40-day class, which I believe Greg asked about earlier, but that's good. Now, the other piece of it is you want to bring your physical body in alignment with what you're doing mentally. So as you prepare your physical body, also or as you prepare your mind, prepare your physical body. The best way to do that is by focusing on hydration when you know you're going to do a fast. Hydration is the secret weapon, because when you start to hydrate the body, you will begin the detox process. So when you're actually going to start detoxing before you even start your fast, then when you start your fast, it helps with the energy levels. It helps with the intensity of the detox itself. So it does a lot of beneficial things, right? Now, hydration doesn't just simply mean drinking water, which is what most people think when I say hydration. They think, oh, drink more water. Well, that's a piece of it. You can drink more water, but what you really have to look at are you getting water into the cells? So we need to be looking at the fourth phase of water, and what that's more like. If you think about like Jello, I don't know if you've ever made Jello, but Jello is like 99% water. You take a packet of this gelatin stuff, this powder, and then you take like, I don't know, a liter of water, whatever it is, and you mix it together, and it cools down and it solidifies. And then once you have the solid Jello squares, you know that it's 99% water because you just made it. But if you stab it with a knife, it doesn't spew water out. So our cells have that same kind of water inside them, and it's not normal water. It's not H2O. So when you drink a whole bunch of water, you think you're hydrating yourself, but the body has to then convert that water that you drink into the cellular water your body will actually use. What's so much more efficient is if you take some fruit, right? So we got an orange here, and you eat your water. Now, orange is probably, 85 to 90% water, if not more. And plants make cellular water. That's just what plants do. It's the same way that our body, our cells utilize cellular water and hold on to cellular water. The plants have that cellular water. So when you eat plants, you're hydrating better. So this is what I recommend to do in preparation for your fast. You also want to eliminate your dehydrating foods. So these are foods that are going to steal water from your system. So if you focus on eating your water, drinking more water, hydrating better, staying away from dehydrating foods as you go into your fast and you do your mental prep work, when you actually do the fast, it'll be a completely different experience. The last piece that I'll tell you about the prep is you want to make sure that you change how you eat your food. So it's very important that you skip breakfast in the morning when you are preparing for a fast, And the reason for that is the less frequently you eat, the less frequently your body produces ghrelin. So ghrelin is a fluid that is used in the digestive process, and it's associated with the hunger pangs. And so if you know you want to do, like let's say a 3 or 4 day fast, leading up to that fast, you want to reduce the frequency at which you eat. And it doesn't matter if these are full meals or not. You just even see, I've got some almonds here. If I just eat almonds, if I'm just sitting here eating almonds all day long, that the body is constantly having to utilize ghrelin in order to digest that food. So you don't want to be snacking or grazing. Maybe you have like 1 or 2 meals at most during your prep time, right? So all of these things are going to help you when you actually do your actual fast.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I think you said a few things really well, which resonated very well with me in terms of the how to prep myself. But then before I just mute myself again, if I need to stay connected with you and then continue getting more and more education on this, because in my mind, it is not a one-time thing, right? This is a continuously reminder to yourself. And that is why it is important to have coaches like you and mentors like you who could continuously keep reminding people. It's not really rocket science, it's more of a common sense, right? But common sense is also sometimes not very common when you're in an extreme stress situation.
Right.
So to jump into those conversations, are there any guidelines, any kind of connections with you and your team on an ongoing basis?
Yeah. So Steven's one of the coaches in our group. You may have seen, we started a program together recently. He actually offers accountability coaching. So accountability coaching, I think he does it for 30 days at a time, but he offers that, and you could reach Steven at steven@ahealthyalternative.org. Shell, if you could put his email in the chat too.
Okay.
You all can email Steven if you're interested in accountability coaching, and he'll help get you set up with that. We have an initiative in place. So right now we're developing an app. And one of the things that we're going to do using the app is we're going to build a network for you all to have like an accountability group on a larger scale, and we're going to use the app to facilitate this so that we could really just create an environment where people can come and get really good support indefinitely. But outside of that, we also have the Fasting Academy, which it's more informative. It's just really good, concise information that I've put, like what I just told you just now about prepping. That type of information is in the academy. But if you really want something more, if you want something more engaging, the most engaging thing we have available right now is our 40-day wellness course. And that's where Steven and I actually teach live twice a week over the course of 5.5 weeks. And we go into some of the deeper seated reasons why people are struggling with fasting, whether it's food addiction, using food as a coping mechanism, or, emotional trauma, which a lot of us deal with emotional trauma. And then we use food to comfort that. So we have a few different options. I don't want to keep rambling on about all the products and services we have available, but if you email us, we'll get you locked in. We'll figure out what it is that will work best for you.
Got it. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can grab a question from the YouTube chat real quick. Do you think about powdered foods, lime, beets, and greens? Or what do you think about powdered foods, lime, beets, and greens? So I'll say that I'm okay with powdered foods. I can understand the benefit of using powdered foods. If you think about like our spices and things, that's essentially powdered foods, right? Like you take some onion, you dry it out, and you grind it up, and then we sprinkle it. We sprinkle it on our food. So I think powdered food is okay. Anybody have any experience or an opinion about powdering your food?
I want to unmute myself. Chris, is it okay if I speak? This is Chocolate.
Yeah, sure.
Let me get the video back on. I clicked myself out by accident. Okay. Powdered food, you just got to be careful because you could take in too much nutrition. You can't really see the volume that you're eating. But can I touch back on when someone asked about the tonsils being part of the lymph system?
Yes.
The tonsils is indeed part of the lymph system. There are 6 major organs that are part of, six organs of the lymph system. You have bone marrow. People don't realize that's part of the lymph system. Your thymus, which is behind your breastbone, that's part of the lymph system. Lymph nodes, the spleen, and the tonsils. So you have bone marrow, thymus, lymph nodes, spleen, tonsils, mucous membranes is the 6th one. So those are your organs for your lymph system.
Excellent.
I'm sorry, I was on YouTube. I would have answered it earlier, but I
Oh
was
no,
on YouTube.
no, you're good. You're good. I appreciate you answering it live. That way everybody can hear it and gets it. So there you all are. Yeah, I'm certainly not an expert on the lymph system, so I don't want to.
I just happen to be studying it right now.
Oh, okay. Well, it's an important system. I could tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm doing naturopathic medicine. I'm studying that. I'm starting all over on my journey. We'll talk about that privately, though.
Okay.
And studying all the systems of the body. So hopefully one day I'll be able to help too.
Yeah, and that what you mentioned about the powdered foods, that's good because in general, when we change, like if you think about nuts, for example, it's so easy to eat way too much nuts if you grind them or if you turn them into a butter or if you use them in a sauce or something like that. It gets really heavy really quickly. And somebody was mentioning raw food in the comments, and I think that's a pitfall for those who do go into the raw food diet, because it seems as if no matter what dietary strategy we use, there is a pitfall there for us, and we have to really understand what it is we're doing. Did you do raw foods? You did raw foods at one point, right?
I did raw foods and I'm back doing raw foods. So what I'm doing right now, I'm doing intermittent. And of course I'm using the sea moss. So I'm doing sea moss bowls. You can eat up to a quarter cup of sea moss a day. But I use a quarter cup sometimes, but not always that much. It depends on if I make a bowl or a smoothie. And I'm doing Ladu balls, and that's LADDUU for anybody that want to look them up. They're in all kind of cultures, but it's basically I use dates as the paste, and I use nuts and seeds. So I use the almond is the only nut I actually use in there, and I use seeds. So I have chia, black sesame seed, flax, sunflower. They're all raw, and I grind them all together and roll them into balls for my nutrition. So I'm doing the 5-on-2. So when I do the 2 days that I do eat, I do the Ladu balls. And like I said, I'm intermittent. So if I need more, I'll eat a salad, but I'm staying raw for now.
One thing that I've noticed about eating raw is that if you do it properly, you don't worry about like the crazy hunger pangs. Like I know that when I very first started like with vegetarian years and years and years ago, it was very difficult for me to make the transition because I was moving from the SAD diet to eating, just vegetables and stuff. And I couldn't seem to satiate myself. But when I went from what I eat now, which I will call like, 80% alkaline with 20% vegetarian diet, when I moved from that to the raw, it was seamless. I didn't find myself to be hungry. I didn't have any issues satiating myself. And actually, I was surprised. I probably wanted to eat less when I moved to the raw foods. And so it's been a really amazing experience. I came off of it. a couple nights ago, but I had already decided I'm going to continue to incorporate raw foods into my lifestyle. And so I had probably a 95% raw meal last night, which still I still feel fine. I had 1 or 2 nuts today, but I think that's just because I'm used to eating like kind of a intermittent fasting anyway, so it was easy for me to transition.
Yeah, I'm used to that. Even once I fell off, I felt like I was actually forcing myself to overeat, to be honest with you. So now that I'm back doing raw, when it's time for me to eat, because I'm doing intermittent and I eat at the same time, I'm very strict with intermittent. At that time, I find myself having to make myself eat something. That's why I do the Ladu balls, because they're small. If I don't have appetite, I still want the nutrition, so I eat it, Trying to stay with the 5-2, because when I fall off, if I don't stay steady and I fall off, then I have no idea what I'm doing. Did I eat yesterday? Did I not eat today? So I just stay Monday through Friday, fasting Saturday, Sunday to 2. So that's easy for me.
Excellent. And then so now the goal really here is just consistency. And you know, that's part of the reason why we're developing the app, and we want to help to facilitate that, you know, because if we can get everybody kind of one mind and focused on the same goal, I think that we can all be a lot more successful, because we don't often have like a lot of people in our life, our personal life, that are on this journey. You know, this is it's a challenge to get people to. I know me personally, even for the longest time, I was like, man, eating raw is that's challenging, but it's not really. It's just being around people that are doing it so you can get ideas and motivation. And so, yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna make that happen.
Well, speaking of the app, I really want more people to jump on that and get that app out there. When I fell off and I really felt like I went down a rabbit hole, you want to reach out to people whose journey you've seen be successful, who you see have gone through kind of where you're at. So I reached out to Siobhan. So that's who's helping me right now.
Yeah, that community is huge. You really, you know, when I think that once we get it going and people have an opportunity to see the benefit of it, that's when they'll be like, oh, okay. But sometimes you have to, like, it's kind of like when the internet very first came out, people didn't understand it. They were like, that's stupid, doesn't make sense, no one's going to use it, it's not going to be beneficial. And now 10 years later or 20 years later, we probably can't imagine our life without it. You know,
exactly.
Sometimes with initiatives like the app and things like that, people are like, I don't know. I'm not necessarily, I don't know, understand the benefit of it. And, you know, hey, that is what it is. Sometimes you got to show people. But
for me, it's because I went through the journey and I had such a great journey. It was hard, but you know what? Being able to think back on that journey is actually helping me push forward through this one, because I can think back on when I was stuck at this point before. But as far as feeling weak, you definitely, for me, the first time I didn't have a partner. This time around, I feel like it's a little harder for me because it's a little more emotional for me. So that's why I need a partner. So I think the app would be great for people like me to need a partner, and also for education-wise, like people have gone through where you're stuck and you have no idea, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the educational piece is going to be huge. And we're very interested in integrating the educational piece into the app so that it's seamless for the users and people get the right information at the right time. So yeah, we're really excited. If you all are interested in donating to the app, that's still available. You can still donate. It's in the description box of the video, of the YouTube video. I put the link in there. But we made it real simple. It's the ahaapp.com. If you just go to the ahaapp.com, you can donate. Okay. So Beverly said, I stumbled upon this channel in 2019, I believe. I was so motivated that I jumped in, no prep, and did a 7-day fast. It was successful. I only experienced one moment of dizziness on my 4th day and nothing else. I want to prep for the next time, but I am struggling to prep. I feel like I should just jump in feet first again. Well, you know, everyone's a little different. And what I found is most people tend to not do well with fasting if they don't prep their system. Those who say that they do well with jumping right in head first, they tend to have problems with consistency. So you can jump in head first and knock out 7 days, 14 days, or 21 days, but how consistent are you with it? And then when you come off of your fast, how consistent are you with your dietary strategy? Like, are you eating well? You know, are you focused on your consumption? So I find that preparation is not just preparing the physical body, but it also is preparing the mind for what it is. You know, it's kind of like what Ashish said earlier. It's preparing your mind. Why are you doing this? It also gives you a window of time to play with your eating habits. If you're eating a standard American diet or whatever the standard diet is for where you come from, that's a good that's a good opportunity to start transitioning your dietary habits, right? When you're preparing for your fast. So, it just depends. I'm not going to tell anybody not to do what they feel intuitively is better for them. But I just find that there's difficulties, there's challenges either way it goes. The goal is really just overcoming those challenges. And I will say this, if you're having a lot of challenges with prepping, that the problem is your eating habits, right? Because with prepping, it's way easier than fasting. You're still eating. So that means your real challenge is your eating habits. That's got to be addressed either way it goes, And I personally think it's better to address it on the front end because I've seen so many people, they'll join the group. We've had people join the group and do 40-day fasts, and then they lose all this weight. They reverse all these ailments. They get off all their medication, and then they leave the group, and then they come back a year later, and they've gained all the weight back, and they're back on the medications. So what happened there, right? They never built a solid foundation and base for, what are healthy eating habits? When you're traveling, where should you go to get healthy meals? It's really, really important to build that baseline. So, some people say that jumping right in works for them. I find that typically it doesn't ultimately. It might work right now in the moment, but when you look at the big picture, it tends to not. You got something to say, Shell? You grunting?
Oh, nothing. I was just clear. Well, I mean, I can just piggyback, just preparation in general when you think about fasting or just transitioning a lifestyle of foods or going into a different lifestyle of eating. Preparation is key. If you take out the eating and go into a job or go into, a new field of learning something, preparation is important in order to be successful and to sustain. So it's not much difference when it comes to changing your eating habits. And then, of course, surrounding yourself with people that have done it or are doing it so you don't feel like you have to just eat salads all day, every day.
Right.
I don't eat the standard American diet anymore, and I eat very well and enjoy my food and my meals. So.
Now that's a pitfall. Feeling like you got to eat salads all of the time, it gets boring. I can't remember. I was talking to somebody recently who said they did a year of salads only, and they lost all this weight and everything. No. That was the part that was upsetting. They did a year of salads only, but they didn't lose weight. But there were other factors that were involved, and so, yeah, then
too, because people say salads, but it's like, what are you putting in that salad? Are you loading it with bacon and the dressings that are filled with who knows what? Like, what's going into this salad? Because that's going to make a difference.
Shell, the big salad. Remember on what was that show? Seinfeld. The big salad.
The big salad on Seinfeld? I don't remember that.
Seinfeld, when Elaine and George they were at a restaurant and he would order the big salad. And Elaine had ordered the big salad. George was all upset. You gotta watch the episode. It was so funny. But yeah, the big salad, like you get a salad, you get this little bowl, you get this big old giant bowl, and you think, oh, but I ate a salad. You ate like 10 salads in one bowl.
Right. That's actually something Jason Fung touches on, overnutrition. And, people, I've mentioned this before, and people kind of want to argue semantics, but the reality is when you take in a lot of nutrition, right, especially stuff that's really dense like vegetables and things, it really is hard for the body to digest the food, and then that becomes a problem. So like we really got to think about balance in everything that we do. It really doesn't matter what foods you choose to eat. There are obviously you all know my stance on food and what I say to eat, but there are people out there who use a 1 meal a day strategy and they eat bad food, but they still see a lot of benefit because they're giving themselves 23 hours each day to digest and process that food. All right, so somebody was asking, Chris, what's the best water to drink during a fast? You're torn. I don't know. I don't know that I really have different suggestions. Whoever keeps unmuting themselves, stop, because you're. Stop. Don't unmute yourself with all that in the background. I'm gonna have to remove you. So someone was asking, what's the best water to drink? And the reality is it's the same water that I recommend all of the time. Like you want to drink water that's going to help hydrate you. All right. So someone was asking, what's the best water to drink? Okie dokie. So, you want to drink water that's hydrating. And the way you do that is by sun energizing your water. So if you take a gallon of distilled water or spring water, you could even use filtered water, and you put it out in a clear glass jar. You let the sun energize it. It's going to change the molecular structure of the water. It's going to do a lot of things for the water, and that's going to help to hydrate you better. So my personal favorite water is I will distill my water. I put it out in the sun, and then I usually leave it out there for a day to 3 days, and I drink that. If you're confused about whether or not you should drink alkaline water versus spring water versus distilled water, you got to be careful with alkaline water, because typically companies are going to be they're usually putting a chemical in the water to alkalize it, and so it's not real alkaline water. But you can really only get real alkaline water from a natural body of water. So you can't bottle it up. Even if the company goes to a natural body of water and bottles it up, by the time it gets to you, it has lost its energetic property. So it's not the same, Gwen's asking what kind of distiller I use. I use a mega home distiller. I want to say it might've been like $250 or something like that a couple years ago on Amazon. And I went through a couple different distillers, because if you buy a cheap distiller, they don't work very well, and you end up with like this bad taste in the water, some type of residue that ends up in the water. The more money you spend on your distiller, I would say the better. So, they have the under the counter home distillers that you could purchase, $500 to $1,500. It just depends on what level, what your monetary resources look like and what level you want to go in at. But I find that the Mega Home does a really good job. When I was testing the parts per million after I distilled the water, it would usually be sitting around 0 to 2 parts per million, which just means that it's pretty much distilling everything out. It was doing a really good job. Before I would distill my water, it would be at nearly 200 parts per million. So particulates in the water. So you can see the contrast there. And I got those old videos out if y'all are interested. But don't overthink it. Your goal is to have pure, like clean water. Just don't assume that your tap water is clean, and don't assume that all your bottled waters are good. You have to do a little bit of research, but making the water at home or cleaning the water at home is probably the best method that I have found, because then you get consistent results. Does anybody else have any comments or experience with their water?
When you look on the water bottle, when you buy bottled water on ingredients, it should only say water.
That's right.
That's a good point. Isn't it interesting that water even has an ingredient list?
Yes, but they require it by law. Everything's required to have ingredient lists except soap, by the way. Of course, I know that. But when you make pure soap, you don't have to list ingredients. You can, but you don't have to.
Interesting.
The first time I noticed that that ingredients were in water was when I actually bought a gallon from the baby section. I just because they ran out of the distilled water that I wanted, so I was thinking, sure they have to have distilled water in the baby section. So I go get it. I didn't read the back. I just grabbed it. I went to work when I was still working, and something just told me just take a look at it, and it was at least maybe 4 different things that they had back there, and I was just like,
in the baby water?
yes, in the
Oh
baby
yeah.
water. I was so upset. I did not drink it. I was just like, why what? This is the baby's water. If anything should be stripped of anything, I would imagine it would be the water for the babies.
Right.
Yeah, I actually found that the baby water, they would enrich it with fluoride, and yeah, and they would put minerals and whatever in it. So, got to be careful.
Glad my kids are grown because by the grace of God, they alive. We didn't have any of this information. Oh.
Well, also, times have changed, right? Like when I think about when I was a child, there was no such thing as organic or conventional. That wasn't a real thing. So that's also part of it. Times have changed.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see if we got some more questions. Can you get rid of the person that's eating and licking her fingers too? Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess someone's being distracting on their camera. I didn't notice that. Let me see here. Where can you find an accountability partner? I am restarting my fast tomorrow. As of right now, the Facebook group is probably the best place to go and look for an accountability partner, unless you're interested in, just getting professional accountability done, which I mentioned earlier. Stephen does that for AHA. I don't personally offer accountability for AHA, but Stephen does. So you can reach out to him at steven@ahealthyalternative.org if you want professional help. But I would say that the Facebook group is the best option. And we are A Healthy Alternative on Facebook. If you can find us, Facebook has shadow banned the group. They shadow banned us quite a while ago, so it's hard to find us.
The best thing to
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Say the best thing to do is just see if somebody can send an invite from like if they message, if anyone can't find the group, when they look, just send a message to your Facebook and we can send you an invite link.
Yeah, you can send a message to the business page, AHA business page. That one you can find. I wanted to talk about weight loss goals, and I wanted to see if anybody wanted to share what their weight loss goal was and why. All of the quiet people on the panel, Desiree, Carlton. I know somebody said they couldn't talk. I think it was Beverly. Mary. Who does anybody want to share their weight loss goal and why, whether past or present? Gwen, if you want to share what your weight loss goal was, I know you've already probably hit it. You gotta unmute yourself.
Is it muted still?
No, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hey.
Hi.
I was the one eating.
Oh.
I didn't know I wasn't allowed to eat. Yeah, you know what? When I came to this because I saw your video with your brother, and I saw that it could change you and help you lose a significant amount of weight. I was 330 at the time, and I just wanted to be healthy. I didn't have a goal in mind as far as how much. I did jump right on in, but I tried to figure out how to make it a lifestyle. I did a lot of the OMAD, like what you were talking about, as far as at the first I was a junkie, so I ate real bad. And but by at least only eating them one time a day. That helped out a lot. I've lost 162 was the highest, and I have maintained that for the past year within about 4 pounds. So like my lowest weight, I was 167, and right now I'm 172. So I have about 40 more that I want to lose, but it's not as big of a, like, I'm healthy now. I'm completely healthy. So it's not as big of a, like, I have to do it right this minute, but I still fast daily. Now I just more intermittent fast. I eat like one time a day and, that type of thing. So this group has really changed my life, and just kudos to the group. Thank you so much for creating it.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. Hey, listen, I appreciate every member, because it's the group, right? And being able to maintain that amount of weight loss over the span of a year is phenomenal. I think that you say you jumped right in, but you learned along the way, how to change. So it's kind of like a mindset. If you go into it with the right mindset that, hey, you want to knock this out, and although you don't have all the tools and knowledge right now, if you're willing to learn along the way, you could still reach the goal. It's just, you got to be careful with just jumping in. Okay, let me just knock off 5-10 pounds real quick. That's where a lot of the yo-yo coming is, like, you gotta want a lifestyle change.
I needed more than that. I needed health, and I had to make it a lifestyle. And like I said, I saw how much weight your brother had lost, and I was like, people are doing this. They're losing significant amounts of weight, and they're looking like normal people now. So that showed me that if I just stayed with it, even if I did it wrong, as long as I stayed with it and didn't beat myself up too much, but just stuck with it, I stayed real plugged in with the group, because that kept me, kept my mind in the game and everything. And it's just, even now, I still stay real plugged in with the group, just because it keeps me in the game, for real. So
yeah. See, that is the goal, because this is a journey. It's a marathon. It's a life thing. And so you want to stay plugged in, because even if you've reached your goal, you still want to stay plugged in, because sometimes it's easy to slip back into old habits. So, I think, I can't remember, somebody who was saying, I think it might have been Waka Flocka. He was talking about when you change your diet, if you haven't been doing it for 5 years, you really shouldn't even claim it yet, because it's not something that it's really not ingrained in you. When you look at our entire life, we're 30, 40 years old, 6 months, a year, that's not a long period of time. So, you really want to give yourself grace. And if you're trying a new diet or whatever the case is, you want to do it for a nice period of time, so you can kind of experience the ups and downs and really get yourself settled in. So I appreciate you sharing that. I know that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Desiree wanted to come on. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yes, it's Desiree, but that's fine.
Okay, Desiree.
Yeah. I have, I started, I've always fasted for religious reasons. So, and I never had a problem with fasting for religious reasons. Once I started fasting, for like actual intention water fast, I started in January. And my goal was to lose 25 pounds within that 40 days, but I'm unable to fast during my cycle. I'm good right up until the time that my cycle starts, and then after that, I cannot maintain a fast during my cycle. So after kind of discovering that, I did lose the 25 pounds, and I was doing like a 42 hour water fast 3 days a week, and I was maintaining my weight, but I wasn't losing weight. So then I kind of switched to trying to go between intermittent fasting every other day, 1 meal a day, just really trying to figure out what works best. Currently, my starting weight was 243, I think, and I'm at like 218 now. So I haven't gained any weight, but it's still the slow and coming off. The lowest weight I've ever been was like 159, and then stress due to work and being in a constant fight or flight mode, I just gained like 50 pounds in like a 10-month span at work. But I've since transitioned out of leadership management role, and I'm in something else. So I'm really just trying to establish a routine where it's not where it's second nature, so I'm not constantly thinking about it. I gave up meat in 2012 again due to spiritual reasons, and that never I obviously haven't gone back to meat. And I gave up dairy in 2019 on occasions where I've ate dairy on accident, not intending to. I'll get very bad heartburn that lasts for 2 to 3 days, and I'll get a migraine. So I'm more vigilant and reading labels to make sure, because milk is in everything, not everything literally, but it's in a lot of things that you wouldn't think unless you're, actually reading labels and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being that label reading thing, that's you. I would say that when I very first started, I was looking at labels. I was researching, what did non-GMO mean? What did organic mean? Like, what did these terms mean? You find out a lot when you start doing that. And, I'm at a place now where it's just like, I don't read labels because the food I purchase doesn't have a label. Right? Okay. Like when I go into the store, I go to the produce section, there's no label on it. It's a pineapple. What are the ingredients? Pineapple, and when you get to that place, it really makes life a lot easier. But the yo-yoing or the allowing stress and job and stuff to affect your health, that's very common. I'm glad to hear that for whatever reason you did leave that leadership role, because it sounds like it wasn't healthy for you. And go ahead.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And I still, I'm still in leadership at my current job, but the structure is different. So it's not that middle management leadership.
Okay.
I oversee 5 people, whereas before it was like a 24-hour facility, and I was over like 37 people, and I was responsible for scheduling. If someone didn't come to work, I had to work their shift. So I would be working some days 24 hours behind my shift, or call out, couldn't get coverage. And that just, and I mean, I'm not old, I'm 37, but I knew that wasn't anything at the time that I would want to continue, into my 40s, mid 50s, because I was like, this cannot be healthy. I know, like going days at a time without sleeping and high stress, that's just not healthy.
One of the things that I like actually did a little research on was the life expectancy of different jobs or careers. Air traffic controllers die in their 40s or something like that. Wow. Like, because of the level of stress. So when we look at the stress levels of our job, we really got to take in consideration, is it worth our life? And that's really what it is. We're saying, we're putting our jobs and our life on a scale, or we're putting food in our life on a scale, and we're saying, which one has more weight? And then depending on whichever one has more weight, the other one's it's gotta go. Or that's the one that you make the changes with. So I hear people all the time say that, hey, I got to provide for my family. I understand that. But, there's thousands, if not millions of people who say, I got to provide for my family. So they work themselves to death. And now their family doesn't have the provision that you were providing. It's gone completely. So before that happens, it's like, yo, let's make a decision to do something better. And what I've noticed about like this health journey, it does make you more aware of your options. Like I feel like we get stuck in the day-to-day, monotony of life, and we don't really have time to look at other options. Our creativity is stifled. Finding a different position, or maybe a different job altogether, or supplementing your work. You could go to a lower position and then supplement your income. There's all these different options, especially in the digital age, where you could supplement your income so that you're not so stressed at work. Because I feel like our system is part of the rat race, to something that I learned about when I was much younger. And that stress kills us. Like, we're not really made to work a 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. Like, does anybody think that we were born with the intention of working a 9 to 5?
Not at all.
So if we know that working a 9 to 5 isn't our purpose, then that within itself is going to cause a level of underlying stress and anxiety, because our inner self, our spirit or our energetic being knows that we're not living in our purpose, and that can be disconcerting. I want to say thank you to Dan Tana, who sent a super chat and a donation. Appreciate that. If anybody is in the chat now and wants to make sure that their question gets addressed, the super chat's the best way to do it, so that we make sure we see it. And I want to see if we can get the likes up. We're at like 67 likes. We got 155 people in here. If we could we're at 80 likes now. If we can get the likes up, that would be amazing. This is the first time that I'm doing this, and I hope you all are enjoying it. And I hope maybe if we do it in the future again, we can get some more people on who want to chat. If you are in the live on YouTube and you want to join, I did put the link to the Zoom in the description, so you could join. You could come on the panel and have a discussion if you like. I'm interested in talking about anybody who has had any type of transformation with fasting, or whether their diet, maybe dietary changes. I'd love to hear if you all have had some success, or if you want to just interact on any of the topics that we're touching on. Feel free to click that link. Okay, so I want to talk about processed foods a little bit, and we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. But processed foods, what is it about processed foods that is detrimental? Are there any processed foods that you can eat and they're okay? Shell, do you have any insight on processed foods, or what are your thoughts about like processed foods as a whole?
I think that processed foods are, 2 points, very dehydrating. So I know you mentioned when we talked about earlier, hydration and making sure that we're eating our water. Most, if not all, processed foods are very dehydrating. So it's taking a few steps back if you're in, especially if you're prepping for fasting or anything. It's dehydrating. And also 9 times out of 10, there's some artificial makeup of the food that is not designed for our bodies to completely process. So, you can make anything taste good, but the different ingredients that go into these things are, they just get stuck in the gut, and, it leads to us being bloated or causing all types of different issues as far as constipation. So I would say, as far as processed foods go, it's, unless you're very strict on your diet, eat it very minimally.
Minimally. Anybody else want to chime in on processed foods? What's your thoughts on our processed foods? What I'll say is, I like to kind of define a little bit processed foods, because if you take an apple and you chop it up and you run it through a juicer, you've processed it, right? So that'd be considered a processed food. When I talk about processed foods, I'm really talking about, food that's gone through a manufacturing process. So usually, maybe it was picked on a farm. Let's just take orange juice, for example. It's grown on a farm, probably sprayed with pesticides and things of that nature. It may have even already be genetically modified at the seed level. And then you pick it, and then you squeeze it using some type of industrial machine. So you squeeze the juice out of it, and then you take it through a process of heating it up and supposedly killing all the bacteria and stuff like that. But that process, strips it of its nutrients and its energy and its taste. So then you put artificial chemicals and flavors and sweeteners in it so that it can taste like orange juice again. And then you package it up and you put it on a truck and you keep it refrigerated and you ship it to a store, right? And then somebody comes and buys it. That's kind of like what I'm talking about with processed foods. The other foods that you could come across that are processed that a lot of people don't think about are frozen foods.
Mm-hmm.
There's a debate about frozen foods. People think that, you know, when you freeze a food, you're freezing it at the height of nutrition, and so therefore you're locking the nutrition in, and you get more nutrition out of your frozen foods than your fresh foods. What, Shell, do you have any thoughts about that?
I've never really, I mean, I do believe that fresh fruits and vegetables are better. That's just my belief. I've not done any research or anything. The only thing is, whenever I would eat frozen foods, fruits or vegetables, I could tell that there's a significant difference in the taste and the texture, and it's just not, it's not good to me. So especially like the strawberries, like the fruits, like once you, it's just not the same. So again, I've never done any research. I just follow what I feel, and it just does not seem like it's better. It definitely doesn't taste better. The texture isn't better. The freshness and the crispness of it is not there. So I personally am just not a fan of the frozen fruits, even if I freeze my own. Not just buying the packaged frozen fruits. But that's just me. That's how I
Chocolate.
I am huge on frozen fruit because I make my smoothies out of it. I try to buy it fresh and freeze it, but the thing about frozen, once you freeze it, it's still it's still decaying. It's just slowing it down. Freezing food just slows down the decaying process, but it's not fresh anymore once you freeze it. You're not freezing it and saving it at the state that you froze it in. That's a misconception.
So what happened? And also, after freezing it for so long, what I'm not exactly sure what causes freezer burn, but I feel
the water in it still is evaporating. It's still evaporating. Okay. So that's what causes the freezer burn. Just because you froze it, it's not stuck in that state. It just really slowed it down.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think for when you use the frozen fruits and things in smoothies, and so I guess my point of view is, it's not like I'm saying don't ever use frozen fruits and vegetables. I think it's really bringing a little understanding around what that is and, you know, what that means. Then you think about like a strawberry. A strawberry is one of the best examples because it's so easy to see this. But if you freeze a strawberry and then you take it out of the freezer and you let it unthaw, it's completely burst, you know, because when you freeze something, the cells of that product, the water in the cells expands and it bursts the cells. So that starts an oxidation process, which is essentially what chocolate was talking about. And so it's, you know, is it better than many other options, like having some synthetic powder smoothie thing? Absolutely. It's definitely a much better option. It's just important to understand that, I mean, fresh fruit's better. Do I still use frozen? Yeah, if I want to make a sorbet or if I'm, you know, making a certain type of dish, sure. I also don't eat perfectly. So, you know, I never want people to think, oh, you can't do frozen food anymore. I just wanted to bring that to the forefront of the conversation so that we don't just assume frozen fruit and frozen vegetable, that's good. No, just go and get the produce, the fresh produce. And what it does is, because it goes bad, because most of us do the frozen stuff out of convenience anyway.
Right.
So when the food is gonna go bad, you don't want to waste your money. So you're prompted to eat it. Like after wasting so much vegetables and stuff, I started feeling like, okay, I got 2 avocados down there. Let me think of what I can like make and use these avocados. And that's when I started doing guacamole all the time.
Yeah, I hated when I would let avocados just go bad. It's so embarrassing. But now it's like, do I have any more? Because I think I ate them all. Even if it's just to open it and sprinkle some.
I even tried freezing it.
Say that again.
You tried freezing avocado?
Froze avocado. Don't freeze it and thaw it out. It is disgusting.
Yeah.
It's worse than strawberry. It's worse.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. If you do it, if you freeze it, like I said, I'm a big fan of frozen because I'm where it gets winter, it snows and everything. And so it's convenient for me. So for wintertime, we'll buy a whole bunch of peaches and strawberries and things like that. We know how sweet they were. Once you freeze it, that's another thing. They'll never be as sweet as they were when they were fresh. But I like to freeze it because I make a lot of smoothies. It's convenient for me to make a smoothie because sometimes I just, I deal with a little IBS. Well, I don't anymore, but I did. And so I would do a smoothie because it was hard for me to eat and not have a bellyache and other issues. So, and that's another thing. I gained the weight back, Chris. I don't have all the issues I had before. It's a different type of weight gain. It's not the big health issues I had before the first extended fast I did. It's none of that.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I've noticed a lot is typically when you gain a large amount of weight back, especially after fasting, it's usually just inflammation. Now, that inflammation can cause different issues, but the issues that you may have addressed aren't necessarily always going to come back. But I'm glad to hear that, you didn't experience that.
The fibro pain I had before, oh my God, it made me so suicidal. Like I only held on because the Xavier deserved a mom till he at least 18, but I don't have that. Like I do still get some pains because I'm dealing with issues, but it's still not the same as it was before, not at all.
Oh, that's excellent to hear.
This time around, I know get rid of it, but I have family members dropping off and I knew not to eat the stuff I was eating, but I was just medicating myself with the food. I was. Yeah. And because I baked from scratch and cooked from scratch, I was making German chocolate cake, like everything I ain't got no business messing with, Chris, because I know how to do it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's a physical and a mental journey. And once again, addressing those traumas and why do you use food as a coping mechanism? It's big.
That's why I said it was an emotional thing. Right now, it's an emotional thing for me. That's what I was trying to tell you. I know the food for me was an emotional journey dealing with all the deaths of my two younger brothers, back to back. And it was just too much. It was too much. So I just started self-medicating with the food,
Mm-hmm. Yep. I wanted to, Dan threw another super chat out there. He said, you're welcome from the first super chat. I want to know if fasting helps shrink enlarged prostate. Thank you in advance. Yes, it does. Fasting has the ability to aid you with virtually any disease or ailment that you're dealing with. Now, fasting is not a magic bullet. So it's not going to completely reverse everything. You could probably use fasting to reverse your enlarged prostate, or maybe asking for somebody else. You can definitely use fasting to do that, but it's going to take the dietary changes to maintain that result. And so where people really struggle with it is if let's say that you're doing 1 day of fasting a week, well, that might help you feel better, but if you're still eating poorly those other 6 days or whatever time that you're eating, you're going to kind of have a stalemate between yourself. It can be challenging to find the right balance, but what I would say is there's ways that you can help to promote the healing using plants and herbs, which I know that chocolate gets a lot into, essential oils and things like that you could use to aid you in your process of healing. But yeah, for sure, if you knocked out 3 10-day fasts, you will probably find that your prostate is functioning at a much higher level. And I've had individuals on the show who are older in age and have like the frequent urination, and they were able to eliminate that because they were fasting. They started fasting and their body started working more optimally. remember that a lot of the issues that we deal with as we age are not purely just because you're getting older, right? Old age is not what we all think it is. So if you start looking at your aging as your body is just breaking down because you don't take care of it and you don't maintenance it properly, then we could start making the correlations between what we're experiencing as we get older. But the beautiful thing is, if you start providing that maintenance, you start providing the body with tools and nutrition and hydration, then it will start to heal. So yeah, it shouldn't take you very long to address that issue. You got to be consistent with it. And we talked about, dietary strategy a little bit earlier. You want to be very specific about what you're eating. Pay attention to any discomfort, any irritation that is associated with that issue. You want to pay attention to how different food items may exacerbate that problem. Because that's something that I personally had to go through, not an enlarged prostate, but I was dealing with an infection that was causing me irritation in my urethra. But I noticed that when I would eat certain foods, it would become more inflamed. It would become more of a problem. So I started paying attention, and fasting really helped me with that, because I would fast and I wouldn't have the issue. And then I would start introducing foods back into my diet, and I would notice what was causing me to be irritated. So it's kind of a two-way street there. Hopefully that helps you. Go ahead.
Piggyback on that, when it comes to the diet, one major thing to stay away from, there are quite a few things, but one major thing is the processed sugar, because that just, it makes the body get all out of whack.
Yep. Processed sugar is not just addictive. It's also just bad. It's bad for the hormonal balance. It is just bad. And see, what we got to understand is, when you eat that sugar, it's not just like, oh, I ate some sugar, that's bad for me. No, your body is now going to work. You have no idea how much resources your body has to use to process that sugar. And it's not going to be able to do it efficiently, especially if you've been beating your system up for the past 20, 40, 50 years. It's not going to do it very efficiently. So that one Snickers bar that you eat once a week, whatever, or that dessert that you have at the end of the night with each of your meals, over time, it becomes more and more detrimental as your system is less functional.
Mm-hmm. And then, and there are alternatives. So if you still want to use sweeteners, there are alternatives. Chocolate mentioned dates is one. Different ways to process the dates. Agave is an option.
Raw agave.
There are options out there. You can still enjoy, the sweetness. It's just that processed sugar is what is.
Do y'all know processed sugar is also defined as slow poison?
That sounds about right. I've never heard it referred to it that way, but
years ago when we were in nursing school, I wish I had my old books, but sugar was called slow poison. Slow poison. I was thrown away. I was thrown off by that, but yeah, it's slow poison.
And it's in everything. That's another one.
But the worst one than regular sugar is the high fructose corn syrup. But those two things are what's killing everybody the quickest. High fructose corn syrup is way worse than sugar. If you can believe that anything is worse than sugar, because sugar is considered the single worst ingredient in the modern diet. But it's slow poison, and high fructose corn syrup is worse.
It's fast poison.
Right.
You know what? It's interesting you say that, Chocolate, because, and I can turn my camera back on.
You need to moisten your hair.
I remember when I was younger and the discussion of high fructose corn syrup was prominent. There were literally campaigns, just like with the dairy campaigns and everything, where they were trying to make us believe that the high fructose corn syrup was a better alternative. And so many commercials. It was everywhere. I want to say they came to our school once, and the nutritional teachers, and they would come and they would talk about how the high fructose corn syrup was just a better option, and it was in everything. And we would eat those little cups, those little fruit cups, and it was just full of it.
And the dietitians, they already knew better. I'm sorry. So many things upset me about what's going on with our food and everything. They already knew better, and they attack our kids. That's why I was really thrown off about the water. But yeah, it makes sense. They do. Just like Johnson & Johnson attacked our kids with their lotion, cancerous ingredients in the lotion and in the powder. Like, of course, they give the worst to the kids, because if they could stop us, if they could poison us at the infant level, they know as we mature, they already got it charted how they gonna make money off of us as we die slowly.
Yeah, I remember when, and I know y'all remember this. There was this campaign against butter, like real butter, and they were like, "Oh, margarine is the better alternative. I can't believe it's not butter." Like all of this propaganda, basically getting us to believe that butter was so bad and margarine, which is essentially plastic, and all of these fake butters was so much better. And I tell people to this very day, listen, I personally, I don't like to indulge in a ton of dairy and, meat and things of that nature. But if I still was eating that stuff more, like regularly, I would eat real cheese over like the synthetic cheese, or I would eat real butter over margarine because it's healthier for you. It's organic. Like, I mean, obviously you got to buy the right kind of stuff, but I'm saying, like, before I stopped eating meat, I went to like a local organic farmer. The meat was really expensive, but it was so much better for my system, and I could tell, so that they're very good at taking what we like. If they see that the market is going a certain way, they're going to get ahead of us. Like with the whole veganism movement, they have gotten ahead of us, and they started buying out the meat companies and stuff, started buying out these vegan companies. And now they're basically creating these crazy synthetic Frankenstein vegan foods. So it's like, okay, cool. We're not using any animal, but it's still going to kill you. Like, understand, it's still going to kill you.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, listen, let's just get away from all the processed food as a rule of thumb, because it just makes life easier. Like, there's so many ways. One thing that I say, like, for people who have trouble getting away from meat, understand that nature created animals. Nature also created plants. Don't you think that it would make sense that the nature could create a plant that mimics the texture of an animal? Like, right. if you just really love the texture of animal flesh, there are plants that mimic the texture of animal flesh, just like, nature makes them both. So it's capable of it. And it's really just about opening up your mind and trying new things. Because one of the things that people hear the most, is, oh, I don't want to restrict my diet. I don't want to restrict what I eat. I know for me personally, the way I ate before I changed my diet was more restrictive, because I would only eat meat, dairy products, processed foods, and refined sugar. That's all I ate. Like,
that's what most people eat.
If I ate vegetables, it was either frozen or out of a can.
Yep. Yeah. I don't remember, other than fortunately I was able to grow up where my grandmother had a garden. It was a nice garden, but that was the only time that we would eat fresh vegetables. I don't remember where the produce section was in the grocery store when I was growing up, because we just didn't go down in that area. We went straight to the aisle where the canned foods were and all the snacks. But buying, like now going in, like I don't even look at the other parts of the store. I go straight to the produce aisle. I don't even remember. I couldn't tell you, with the like grocery stores that are closed now. I don't even know if it existed. If it did, I have no idea where it was, because we just didn't. I mean, it just wasn't a part of our life at that time. But fortunately, I was able to get learn to enjoy fresh, seasonal vegetables and fruits because of the garden that my grandmother had.
That is the key. When you said seasonal, that's the key. Eat in season, and foods in season in your area are going to be cheaper if you're worried about your budget. They're going to be better for you, fresher and cheaper. They didn't have to travel nowhere to get to you. They're not going to be 3 and 4 months old with only another week shelf life left to go. They're going to be better for you. Plus, start a little garden. It's not hard. Cabbage, leafy greens grow faster, and they're the best for you. Then grab some blueberry bushes or something. It's so easy. Let nature do it for you, you know?
Yeah, I think part of it is to make it seem like it's more complex than it is, but life is so simple.
I know, we make it hard. Then we do all this research and go through life. I'm in my 50s and realize I just went around a big old circle just to end up back where I should have started, back where it was simple.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, just that goes back to the conversation we were just having about how we're introduced to like the high fructose corn syrup. If you're coming into the schools, if all I see on TV and billboards is, eat this is best, eat this. So it's already, you see it enough and you start thinking like, of course, that's what it is.
It's programming.
I think this is what I should eat. But I mean, the fresh fruit is just so good. It's just so good.
It is.
Someone in the chat on YouTube was asking to give examples of plants having animal-like texture. So me personally, now I'm going to say this. Keep in mind that there are thousands of different fruits, many that we have no clue about, because when we live in modern worlds, we just don't get an opportunity to come in contact with these foods. But one of my favorite, and is pretty easy to find, is like an oyster mushroom. Oyster mushrooms are phenomenal at replicating a animal-like texture. So I will usually, if I want to get a really meaty texture out of oyster mushrooms, I will actually press them. It's just a technique where you take 2 maybe cast iron pans and you warm, you turn the heat on the pan, maybe on medium or something, with a little bit of grapeseed oil or whatever, and you press them together. And that will give you a much meatier texture because it's actually condensing the mushroom's fibers. Also, hedgehog mushrooms. Those are one that I just recently found maybe about 3 months ago. And they tend, this might sound weird, but it kind of gives me the skin of like chicken skin, almost kind of texture, flavor type thing. I don't really know how to explain it, but if y'all have had baked chicken or whatever, it kind of just reminds me of that. There's also, like, you could go with jackfruit. Jackfruit is really good at mimicking meat. Now, obviously, this is it. You have to prepare it, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't necessarily just grab it off the tree and you eat it and you're like, oh, this tastes like steak, right? You're gonna have to prepare these foods. But the most meat-like thing I ever had was jackfruit. My friend was dating a girl who was a vegan, and she prepared some, and I knew she was vegan and I knew he was vegetarian at the time, so I knew that they weren't eating meat. So I came home and I snuck a little bite of it. And I almost spit it out because it tastes so much like meat. So, but it all depends on how you prepare the food to get those meatier textures and tastes.
The flavors and the taste. And another thing is the walnuts. You soak those walnuts a few hours and then put them in the food processor. You season it the way you like. Because a lot of times you go to different restaurants and they'll have the walnut meat tacos. And I think that was maybe the first time I had them. And I almost like you, Chris, I'm like, are you sure this isn't meat? Tastes like it.
Say that's how I do my taco meat.
Yeah.
And I mean, it smells, because you put the seasonings in that you like, the herbs, but that texture, once you soak them in the water and you put them in that processor, you don't want to blend them too much, just enough to
Right.
but yeah, it gives you that meaty.
You're essentially taking
round.
your different senses and you're creating an environment in which you think you're eating meat. Now,
Right.
I grew up, we didn't have a ton of money, right? So we didn't always have lunch meat. We just didn't always have meat. So we would make mayonnaise sandwiches and tomato sandwiches and stuff. And I think from having that experience, I would go to my friend's house and they would put 3-4 layers of meat on their sandwich. And I'd be like, why are you doing that? Because when I would eat like a tomato sandwich, if you make it the right way, it feels like you have meat. So I would like toast one side of the bread. I put the, mayonnaise on there, or Miracle Whip is really what we used. And then, some sliced tomatoes and some seasoned salt. And I really didn't think, oh, there's not meat on this. It was just enjoyable. And it seemed to have a similar bite and flavor as if it had meat on it. So sometimes just by, preparing your dishes the right way, you can't trick yourself into thinking that there's meat in it.
Yeah, and it's lighter. Processes through the body much more easily. Chris, there was another question in the Zoom chat. Do we have any more super chats?
No, go ahead.
I don't want to butcher your name, but I'll try. Oria, she said, will you please share your thoughts on fasting when malnourished, for example, deficient in vitamin D and B vitamins? And you're on the Zoom, so you can unmute yourself if you like to.
People are seeming to be scared to come on.
You're on the panel.
As far as being malnourished. Oh, go ahead. If you're trying to talk, we can't hear you. So as far as being malnourished, it's an interesting thing because you would think that if you're malnourished, you shouldn't fast. And I completely understand that logic. I guess it's really understanding what malnutrition is and what causes it. You might think that when you're malnourished, it's because you're not getting enough nutrition. The reality is typically you're getting the nutrition, your body's just not absorbing it. It's an absorption issue. And that could really be caused by a low functioning liver, which kind of, does a lot of that work. And so when you fast, what you're actually doing is giving your body the opportunity to restore the liver and the systems that are going to allow you to absorb nutrition more efficiently. Also, if the lining of your intestinal tract is all gunked up and lined with plaque and things of that nature, you're going to have issues with absorption, or you're going to be absorbing toxicity constantly from the plaque and the material that's in your system. So it seems counterintuitive to fast under that situation, but the reality is what you'd be doing is revitalizing the system that allows you to absorb more efficiently. And so then when you do start eating, you'll get better results from the food you eat. So, I personally don't see a problem with it. You could also go a different route. Like, you don't have to do water fasting. You could do fruit fasting or something, similar, a liquid fast. And that way you're still getting some sustenance when you fast, but it's helping the detoxification process so that you can, absorb more efficiently.
Okay. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
You're really, really low.
Oh, okay. Okay. Excuse me.
That's better.
Me see. Okay. Yes, thank you so much for your thoughts on that. And As for the name Oriaya, it's nothing new. Everyone always messes that up. I expect it. It's you know, it's different. But again, thank you for your thoughts on that. And I guess I kind of had one other question as you were speaking, just more so because I was seeing a woman and she gave me all these things to take to help my help. I guess it was designed to help me to absorb the nutrients, right, from the food.
Yeah.
And I took it for about 6 months. I don't know if you're familiar with these items, but one of them was called Zypan and the other one was called Colacol. And she basically was insisting that I didn't have enough acid in my stomach to break down the foods. And so I stopped taking those things like maybe a week ago because I noticed some other things happening as a result of taking it, like shocking feelings in my head and stuff like that. I have fasted quite a few times. I actually did a very extended fast, maybe a little over a year ago. I did a 40-day water fast. And I have to say that I just didn't, like I felt I lost a lot of weight. I'm not particularly like excessively overweight. Even back then I wasn't. But I did feel like really like my whole thought process, I couldn't like think after like doing the fast for a few weeks, the water fast. And so I think, no, actually, excuse me, I was drinking juice, not just water. I had to work during that time. So I was actually drinking juice when I was working. But it was like one of those things where I felt like my mind was just like slipping away. Like my memory was just like really, really bad. So I'm going back or to present, moving forward to present rather. I kind of fast like here and there, but I have like I've been told that I'm dealing with a histamine issue where my mucous membrane kind of like is overworking based on high levels of histamine. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now, but I'm thinking to do a fast. I just don't know where to begin because like I said, I had a couple of bad experiences with it. And then like I had my blood work done recently with the doctor she's a naturopath that I was seeing. And she kind of like gave me the rundown on all my things. And I looked like I was pretty deficient in things. And like you said, it sounded really like key on point when you said that my body is not absorbing the nutrients. And I think that's where, my issue lies. I just was wondering, I want to do a fast again. This woman is suggesting that I continue to eat, and that's not working for me. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that you are producing a lot of mucus. What you actually said was in alignment with that. So the brain fog is due to mucus. And so we understand we're electrical beings. So if you think about an electrical circuit, we use copper to conduct electricity because it just does it really well. It's not very expensive. There's a lot of factors. But the reality is, what would happen if we tried to use wood to conduct electricity, like wood fibers, right? It wouldn't work. The signal would not get from A to B. And so what happens is when you have mucus on the brain, the electrical signals that are supposed to be sent to different glands, hormones, organs, etc., are being impeded. So we start to have all sorts of hormonal imbalances, brain fog, absorption issues. We think that maybe the problem is in one place when it's really not. So I guess the focus would probably need to be on eliminating mucus. And there's plenty of foods that we eat that are mucus forming, so you got to take a really close look at your diet and what you are eating, because if you're eating any dairy or anything like that, that's mucus forming. You got to cut that out, especially if you know from your visit with the doctor that mucus is a problem. I think we look at the organs and the glands as being the problem, but oftentimes they're not. It's usually mucus. For example, you look at diabetes. Diabetes is mucus on the pancreas. So It actually makes sense that you experienced brain fog when you did your fast, because as the mucus starts to get kind of stirred up and flushed out the system, you do experience more intense detox symptoms, or you will experience that process, and it doesn't always feel good, or it doesn't always feel right. So the problem is when you don't let the body go through its full process. And that actually happens with different diets too. When people change their diet and they go, and that's why I said earlier, you got to give yourself like 5 years on a diet. But when you start eating more fruits and vegetables, the body's going to start detoxing. And that's going to make you think you're getting sick because you feel worse than what you felt before. So it's really understanding the process and what's happening that I think is a key.
Okay, thank you. So I greatly appreciate you, because I'm like at a loss right now. Like, what do I do? But I have other things, and I know I did a consultation with you before, and I will probably set up another one. Is it still available on the AHA?
Yeah, if you go to healthyalternative.org.
Okay. I will probably go ahead and set up another one. I just gotta get around to it. I've been kind of like just thinking what's possible, like, because I have other things that I'm dealing with that kind of make me, I have to eat something in the morning, right? Because the sinuses is like crazy, and usually that's what I do to make it subside. And then after that, I'm thinking, where do I go from there? But anyhow, thank you so much for your input, and I greatly appreciate you, Shell, for taking my question, because I was just like, oh man, I finally caught a lie.
You're welcome.
So yes, no, thank you all.
Oh yeah, you're very welcome.
All right, take care.
All right, bye-bye. Chris, it was another one, I think, because since we were talking about mucus in the brain in general, this might be a good transition. Someone on YouTube asked, do you know if fasting helps with dementia?
Yeah, fasting does help with dementia. The dementia is a new disease, like, meaning maybe not new, like no one ever had it before 100 years ago, but new as in its relevance. It's not. Maybe some of the more mature guests or those who are in the Facebook or YouTube audience, you know that your grandparents, they weren't getting dementia. It is more or less, I think, maybe my generation or my mom's generation maybe that really started getting it. But before that, no one was really getting dementia and Alzheimer's. And, this is a result of many different things. It's not just one. And that's what makes this tricky, because you'll hear people say, oh, it's caused by this or that, whatever. It's really a culmination of many different things. But the way you combat degenerative brain disorders in general is hydration. I know it sounds really simple and that can't possibly be the answer, but I don't really know how else to say it. Like, we are dehydrated. So if you think about your brain as this tissue, this tissue that should be 80, 90, 99% water, right? But we're eating all of these dehydrating foods. We are letting our systems become over-contaminated. And so the brain is covered in mucus. And so the energetic pathways aren't clear. The brain is dehydrated, or it's got a ton of toxicity. Think about the brain is a command center. It is sending and receiving signals for your conscious being as well as your physical organs and limbs and things. So there's a lot of activity that's happening through the brain. Just imagine that you go into a large data center where, a bank holds all of its bank records and blah, 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 just all this information and data. And you go up to one of the towers where, the actual computers are sitting, and you just start cutting wires. You're not going to shut down the whole thing, but somebody's account just got messed up. You know what I'm saying? And so when we're looking at, these degenerative brain disorders, you could still be functional. The data center's still online. Like, it's still some stuff is still happening, but accounts are getting shut off. And that's essentially what's happening. Now, the beautiful thing about it is you could restore those accounts. You can restore that data. You just got to repair those broken wires. That information is not lost. And then this is the reason why understanding the way that the brain works is important, because modern science has not done a good job of explaining to us what the brain is and how it functions. That's the reason why somebody can have brain damage, trauma, right? Parts of their brain damaged beyond quote unquote repair, and they still have their memory intact. They still have full function of their body. The brain is just a transmitter. It transmits and receives. Your memories and your consciousness are in an energetic field around the body. So your energetic being is in a different dimension. It's not in the physical dimension. And so the trauma and things that happen to our physical brain will disrupt communication between your consciousness and your body. But that can be reconnected. That can be repaired if you know how, if you do the work. So you can certainly reverse those brain disorders with fasting. But hydration is really the key to reversing those types of diseases.
You want to touch on the different types of hydration, because I think we may have talked about it before. There are some elderly that may not drink the water. I think that, like, the chia seed pudding and things like that to help absorb to get that hydration as well. Did we have that conversation before?
I'm probably, but
I don't know, maybe. We talk about water a lot,
yeah. I mean,
different options.
Yeah, as people get older, sometimes they forget to drink their water. So what you have to do is it needs to be a lifestyle. If you have a mother or father or grandfather or whatever who they're not drinking enough water, put it in their food. Yeah, like we talked about earlier, oranges, watermelons, make them fruit salads. Chia seeds in the water, chia pudding, coconut water. Coconut water is phenomenal for hydration. It's phenomenal for nutrition. So using coconut water, and when I say coconut water, I'm talking about like fresh coconut water. Go and get yourself a coconut and tap it and drain it. Use that when you're cooking, right? It makes a big difference. Staying away from dehydrating foods. Don't give your elderly crackers and a whole bunch of bread and pasta and pizza, coffee and tea with caffeine. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't give them that stuff. I don't care if they complain and blah, 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 whatever. If you want what's best with them, they will get over it. Don't give them that stuff.
We work with the elderly, Chris. We work with the elderly, me and CJ. We did before this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
And the one thing about the water drinking, I wanted to say, it's not that they forget to drink their water, some of them. They stop drinking it because they choke. So we use things like, we use chia pudding, but they have this thing, we use chia seeds and also make it into a powder to thicken their liquids. That's why, because they choke. So they don't want to drink because they scared they're going to choke and die. A lot of, I don't know why they do, but they choke, and it's very common. So when you work with elderly, we thicken their fluids, including their water. So you can powder the chia seeds. They use this thing called thicket. They buy it, of course, it's processed. I don't even know what it's made out of. I just always come home and powder the chia seeds, and it works. It's golden. Flax will do the same thing. It'll gel up. Mm-hmm. So
right, and help keep the bowels moving too.
So some of them don't drink because they're scared to drink. They choke.
That's good insight.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you that because I'm like, wait, you're missing that one piece. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get back off.
I mean, and I can piggyback too. The reason I'm on the topic is I think a few people on the YouTube comments mentioned dementia. And I was just looking in my book for the essential oils. If you join the AHA essential oils group, I can post about different oils you can have going in the diffuser as well to help from aromatherapy standpoint, along with ramping up that hydration. So frankincense is one for sure. But I'll make a post in there, do a little bit more research on different options, but having that aromatherapy in the air along with other changes should help.
Yeah.
If you're consistent.
It's a lot of them that I use. So you're right on the money with that. I use a lot of them, but just make sure that the elderly aren't allergic. And if you use rosemary, you can't use it for people with high blood pressure. So make sure you do your research.
Right. You definitely want to do your research, but just trying to throw out different alternatives.
Lavender seems to be basic across, I haven't run across anybody allergic to lavender, because we used to go into the nursing homes and do like the activities, and we were CNAs and phlebotomists. I mean, my whole career was in the healthcare. So, and I do natural. So I've always done essential oils, lavender, peppermint, bergamot, so yeah, you're right on the money with that one.
Yeah, and also baths too. And I would say if you have a system at home that is going to filter and energize the water, the body will absorb a lot of water through the skin, but you just got to be careful about what's in the water. So if you have the resources to energize or structure your water, there's many different products that, will help with that or cleanse the water. Then you could also put the essential oils in the bath or just herbs in the bath, and help with allowing the body to absorb and soak that water in. Because when we think about drinking water, it's actually the most inefficient way to absorb water, especially nowadays. But you got to look at what did our ancestors do. There was a time when you wouldn't build a town unless you were by a natural body of water, right? Because we are water. Don't ever get it twisted. Like, we walk around here and we look like we're more, I don't know, solid matter or whatever, but it's more of an illusion. When you think about the cells, the actual human cells, they're water. Just go look at them, on a microscope or on YouTube or something like that. They're water. They're just water. So we would bathe in natural bodies of water, which means you were getting the alkalized, hydrating, oxygenated water, like you were getting it automatically. And now we pump our water from 1,000 miles away through pipes, and it kills the water, and it also breeds bacteria. And so, but there's certain things we could do right at our house to structure the water, to put the energy back into it. There's some really simple ways. Water just needs to be spiralized. Like, it's very, very simple. If you spiralize water, and the reason why spiralizing water has such an impact is because it's the natural flow of energy. So water, I look at water as a physical representation of energy. And if you think about like water, in the ocean, it makes waves. And we call it energy waves. Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's just water is something we could see and kind of observe a little bit more easily than energy waves, but it's the same. They're the same, but energy moves in a kind of a spiralized manner. When you look at it in a 2D world, it looks like the sine wave, which is just like it goes. Let me see. It goes up and down. Wait, I'm out of camera. Up and down like this, right? Like a snake. That's how the sine wave moves. But in a 3-dimensional world, it's a spiral. It's a spiral that kind of, I don't know. But anyway, there's many different things that you could do. You just have to be intentional about it and be patient. You have to be patient. Preventative care is the best option, because once you get to a place where you're dealing with those types of diseases, it's very challenging. So let's work more on preventative care. Let's do the right things. If you're 55 years old and you're eating pizza every night, you're eating a whole bunch of dairy and whatever, you're not detoxing, you're not focusing on hydration. And if you're not focusing on these things, understand that dementia and Alzheimer's, that's in your path. You know, like this, it is happening more and more frequently because our world is set up to manufacture people with these diseases. So don't think you're special. You're not. You're just like everybody else, and you're going to be dealing with diabetes. You're going to be dealing with dementia. You're going to be dealing with cancer. You're going to be dealing with tumors. All of these things that you see happening to other people, you think, oh, that'll never happen to me. Yes, it will. Your body's going to break down just like anybody else's. None of us are superhumans. So people don't like when I say that, oh, Chris, that's negative. No, it's not. It's not negative. It's balance. In a world where we always want to play the victim and we always want to be coddled and things, you got to have the other side of things where it's like, look, it ain't all going to be okay. It's not a fairy tale. This is not Disney. It's not going to work out. You got to change something. Look at your trajectory. Look at the way your body is breaking down. You're slowly but surely gaining more weight. You're bleeding. You're bleeding. You're having bowels, bloody bowels. Your breath is stinking. Your vision is going. You have odor. Like, listen, take the signs for what they are. You're rotting. So we got to take this seriously, but we don't want to leave you there. We focus on the positive thing. We have solutions. So we're not here just saying, hey, you're headed down a destructive path and just buckle in because it's going to be a bumpy ride. No, we have solutions. You know, so it's really just about you getting to a place where maybe you are at the end of your whip. And you're like, you know what? It's time to make a change. So that's why we started the 40-day wellness course, is to help people get transformation. That's the reason why we're developing the app, so that we could build a more tight-knit community with you all and provide more tools and things to help you on these journeys. I mean, we're doing everything that we can as a team to help you all, but we can't do it for you. If I could get healthy for you, understand I'd be the richest person in the world, because my lifestyle promotes health. So all I got to do is just live. I take over your avatar for a little bit. I keep doing what I've been doing. We drop the weight. We reverse the disease. Boom. I give you your avatar back. You pay me $500,000 and I go on to the next person. I wish I could do that. It'd be easy money. Can't do it. I can't do it. So you're going to have to make those decisions for yourself. Listen, we're at 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 15 minutes. This has been an amazing discussion. I had a lot of fun. Shell, Chocolate, did y'all enjoy yourself?
I did. It was great.
Thank you for your time, guys, and your knowledge.
Yes, and connect with us on all social media platforms. Ask more questions, set up a one-on-one consultation with Chris James. You can set out a plan for yourselves.
I wish on Facebook they have where you could raise your hand, like, I really need help. And that way you can pinpoint which members, like certain members can pinpoint those members and inquire.
That's an interesting idea. It's a very interesting idea. You know, we're building an app right now. I might be able to make that happen.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. That would be wonderful.
Looks like we had one last question in the chat here. Mr. James, how much weight loss should a male 5'10", 290 expect to lose each week while on a water fast with a weekly 1 meal low carb refeed on every 7th day? So you're fasting for 6 days. Is that what you're saying? You're fasting for 6 days, eating on the 7th day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you're doing water fasting while you're fasting, the average is 2 pounds, but this is over a large period of time. So if you're just doing 6 days at a time, you could see, 2 to 3 pounds a day. It really just depends, because you have a good 100 pounds you could lose. So, I would say it'd be safe to say that you're going to lose about 10 to 14 pounds during that time, unless you have elimination blockages, which is very possible, or if you are taking medication that's causing inflammation, that can also skew it. But assuming no medication, you don't have any major elimination blockages, you're looking at 10 to 14 pounds.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've tried it before, and it varied anywhere from 3 to 4, sometimes 7 to 10 pounds per week. And that I know initially it probably was mostly water weight fluid the first couple of weeks, but I was just taken back with how much I was taking off initially. During the pandemic, suffice it to say, I gained a lot of that, but I'm starting again, starting tomorrow. So I was just wondering, was that expect those type of numbers again, or does it just vary depending on what's happening with your body at that time, hormone-wise?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because of the individuality that, everybody has different circumstances. It's hard to say you're going to lose X amount of weight. But what we have found when we extrapolate, let's say, if we look at a 2-week period of time, the average is typically going to come out to 2 pounds per day. If you do 30 days, your average is going to be about 1 pound per day, but it's an average. So you could essentially lose 10 pounds one week and lose 2 pounds the next week, and it'll average itself out. What you eat and how you eat is going to affect it the most. So I don't know when you did it the last time, if you ate the same way that you plan on eating, but that's going to have an impact. So when you do your refeed, you could easily gain 2 or 3 pounds back just on one day of refeeding, depending on how you eat and what you're putting in your food. And that may be where the discrepancy is. It's really hard to say, but you should see similar numbers to what you saw before. And what I would say is focus on sleep. When you fast, sometimes it's more challenging to sleep. That's okay. Don't fight it. But when you do sleep, you want to make sure you're getting restful sleep. So if you're not getting restful sleep, tossing, turning, snoring, not dreaming, these sorts of things, that's an indicator that you want to improve your sleep. And using the essential oils is a good way to do that. Get a diffuser, put some lavender next to your nightstand. That's going to help you sleep at night. Or you could also rub it on the bottom of your toes, like the bottom of your feet. That'll help you with getting more restful sleep, and that'll help keep your weight more consistent. And then also leading up to your fast, if you want to start with like fruit juice, get you some fresh squeezed fruit juice. I recommend citrus. That's just my personal favorite because it has the acid content and it's going to start etching away at the plaque in your system. And that'll make sure that your elimination pathway is clear, or at least it's not going to be perfectly clear, but it's going to help. And that'll help you with the weight loss.
Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, y'all. It's been a pleasure. We're going to have to do this again sometime, and hopefully, we'll get some more people on who want to chat and interact. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you all are interested in the 40-day wellness class, the June class is now available, and you can see the link for that in the description of this video. And if you all are interested in donating to the app, that is also the link to that is in the description as well. And I'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.